In our first story, a combined team of the police, military and environmental task force operatives are expected to flood the streets of the capital from today to begin the strict enforcement of COVID-19 protocols. Now, the team will enforce the wearing of face masks and ensure people adhere to social distancing protocols. The mayor of Accra, Mohammed Ni Ejaisoa, says enough education has already been done and it is time to crack the whip.
The people of Accra, as by and large, complied largely. But in recent times, we are also noticing a worrying trend that people are dropping their nose masks to their chin. So it's becoming a chin mask. And with that in mind, a combined effort of the military, the police, and then our task force with the environmental health officers has been on the field for the past 2 weeks educating. We are stepping up with enforcement from Monday. So the market women will tell you that the military men and some officers from the AMA and then other assemblies had visited their market and be talking to them. Persuasion, and education is what we are doing. But we are also mindful of the executive order that the president has given, that you can't step into a public area without wearing your nose masks, and that is very key. And we intend to make sure that people comply with as a step to. That is one of the surest way of curbing the spread of the virus.
Meanwhile, government is also disputing reports making rounds that treatment centers for persons who have been isolated for testing positive for COVID-19 are currently full. Now, addressing the media on the latest updates on the coronavirus situation in the country, the Minister for Information, Kojo Nkrumah, indicated the report were not backed by accurate data.
Currently, there are 299 people in treatment centers, but we have a capacity of about 700. So the narrative that some keep repeating, that the treatment centers are full, they are not supported by your data. 299 when you have a capacity of 700. And then total number in isolation, that will be 387. The isolation centers are different from those in treatment centers. Okay, so that will be 387. You haven't told us how much space you have for isolation generally.
PCC alone is 600.
Okay, PCC alone is 600. So if you have 387, and PCC is just in Accra. So if you look at what is across the country, okay. Then, total number being managed at home, 3,372. They are mostly asymptomatic. And as you give them supportive treatment, you expect that about 99% plus of them will recover. I think these are key data points that we want to make time to let all stakeholders be aware of, so that we don't go with the sweeping, the case count is now at 25,000, the case count is at 25,001, the case count is at 25,000, because that one, by the blue graph that we saw, forever, it is not going to come.
It was also announced the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will this morning resume work at the Jubilee House after undergoing 14-day self-isolation at the presidential villa. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah added, Senior Minister Osafo Maafo has also been confirmed negative after initially testing positive for COVID-19 a few weeks ago.
The Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is expected to resume out-of-home engagements from tomorrow after a 14-day precautionary self-isolation period. The president's precautionary self-isolation was on the advice of his doctors after at least one person within his close circle tested positive a couple of weeks ago. The president has, during the period, been working from the presidential villa at the Jubilee House. He's expected to, from Monday, attend to business from his office at the Jubilee House. Additionally, he will attend to some engagements outside Accra during the week. We are grateful to all who have been sharing best wishes with the president and all others. In some other matters, Senior Minister Osafo Maafo, you will recall, instructed us to announce his positivity to the country a couple of weeks ago. He has been on supportive treatment at home since. He has, as he informs us, voluntarily tested again since, and he instructs me to update you that his tests of Thursday returned a negative sample. He thanks well-wishers and the Ghana Health Service team for their care.
Also related, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly on Sunday disinfected market across the capital as part of measures to tackle the spread of coronavirus. Maxwell Agbagba, who covered the exercise, has been speaking to some traders at the Kaneshi market.
Disinfection itself has started here at the Kaneshi market. Earlier, there was a launch of the disinfection at the Independence where we had a Greater Accra Regional Minister, speaking. We also had some dignitaries who were present to launch the second phase of the disinfection, exercise. Remember, they're going to disinfect about 137 markets, we are told. The launch took place at the Independence Square, but this is part of the state-of-the-art, you may want to call it, equipment they are using in the disinfection. So this is a drone that you're going to fly. It's going to help them get an aerial, view or opportunity to, spray above the skies, the normal skies, and they're going to do that right now. Let me find out from the person operating the drone how it works.
So you fill the drone with the chemical inside. So we have the chemical composition that is already filled in it. So we lift the drone with the propellers, and we try and spray according to where we want to spray.
Okay.
Yeah. So earlier on, we already did some spraying already.
Okay.
So as of now, it's almost empty.
Okay.
But the only thing that we do is to fill the tank with the chemicals that we need, and we spray. Yeah. So.
Let's get into the market. Let's speak to people. They have been here monitoring the disinfection exercise, just watching the exercisers they do it. Let's find out their views, their perspective, and even as we do this, let's monitor how people. Okay, how much do they go for?
These ones are 30 cedis, and these ones are
30 cedis and 50 cedis.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Tell me, how has the coronavirus pandemic affected business for you? People are still chewing chicken anyways.
Okay.
It has not really affected business, I guess.
Not really, yeah. People are buying it, and the market is not that booming, but it's okay.
Been about fair disinfection, be a 10, no, not a 10, about spray, be a canofia, no 10, no, not a 10.
Minimba market tem, she knew Yaka Kengmini, Abanaba spray. She was about Jala, no, Nakabanabas.
Okay. Well, she says yesterday she came to the market, but they did not get information that there will be disinfection today. It was later in the morning today that they got information that they were coming to disinfect this place. But hope that didn't pose any challenge to you.
Oh, now me ba when no me wo jala. She no me make 6 ni by 7 wo jala. She be ni wo ba ni wo jala. Na me ke wo hawoli bi enu. Kona amefi anu kwale wo hawoli bi enu. Wo teshin. Na me
egbako na.
O fa ne dabi. So fa na washi inyene ewo. Nke wo yata wo ekunta fine.
Great. Well, she says that when the team of sprayers arrived here, they had already set up ready to sell. But what happened was that they had to pack and then make sure that the things they're selling here are safe. They covered them, and then when they finished the disinfection, then they came back here, to sell. She talked about the chemicals that were used. We are told by the experts that it is harmless. We are told that it's chlorine mixed with water. But she says that she has a mask, so when they started the spraying, she had a mask, so she had to cover her nose with it. Coronavirus, it affecting your business then?
Oh, if they were luchumo kra, ne feel like on a cablenchona, Mofia, Moete, Lebi, me, Nuwa, Jala, Bale, fine few. She never feel like I was Jalani, a befte was Jala cry. Coronavirus we fite wo jala. Colonial virus we fite wo jala.
Go chishi. Me no you here. It's more beno chale. Tetano chale te.
We find a coronavirus.
Coronavirus. Obomoding. That's good. That's good. Great. So she's just telling me that the coronavirus pandemic has negatively affected business here in the Carnation market. She says, I mean, usually you find people coming to come and buy, but now they really do not see that, and she thinks that it has affected business here in the market. Oh, you are down, Florence. Oh, you are down.
Moving on, the Deputy OT Regional Minister Maxwell Blagoji says busing people to rural areas for the ongoing voters registration exercise has the potential to create security challenges. He urged potential applicants to wait patiently for their turn in their communities since it is a nationwide exercise. The Deputy Minister was interacting with OT Regional Correspondent Peter Senu after visiting a number of registration centers and presented some items to security personnel at the various border posts in the Nkwanta South municipality.
The Deputy Minister's comment came at the back of his visit to a number of registration centers and security deployment posts in the Nkwanta South municipality. This bus last Friday sent a number of persons to Adomechala for registration, but it is unclear who organized them. They were later seen in the registration queue. This, the Deputy Regional Minister said, could raise security concerns in various communities if the practice remains unchecked.
I think it's quite worrying to have some people bused from other areas of this country purposely for this registration exercise. Because the registration exercise is taking place across the country. And so for you to bus somebody from some place and coming here where they don't even reside, and the residence is also one of the key issues for determining whether the person is a citizen of the area or not. It's quite worrying, and that is why we are appealing to those people who are allowing themselves to be bused from some other places into our municipality for registration to stop that, because it is creating insecurity amongst our people. Those who are not coming from here, nobody knows why they want to come here and register. Wherever they are coming from, they are also doing the registration exercise there. They should rather go back there and register to ensure peace in our area here.
The Deputy Minister also presented some items to security personnel deployed into the region and face masks to registrants at various registration centers. The gesture to the security deployment, according to the minister, was informed by earlier concerns after they were deployed into the region.
I was here with the regional minister to assess the initial impact on their deployment. And before we came, some of the issues we realized was that they had a few challenges as to their ration and other accommodation and logistic constraints. And so we have to go back and as a follow-up, Regional Security Council, and then also on behalf of my regional minister, to present these things to them, for them to be motivated to be able to discharge their duties here.
Peter Sanu for Joy News.
Well, that's it, a wrap up of the news we have, but we do have more news as we look at the newspapers. And after the newspapers, we will look at sports as well. Promises to be exciting. Make sure you stick and stay. Well, we have to do the newspapers. I want to say good morning to my boss, former boss, Nana Jim Fikese. You're the managing director for Road Safety Management Services Limited. Actually, the general manager, the acting general manager. I wish you all the best. I know currently you're in Kumasi, Ashanti Regional Capital, and one of your main concerns is about how we're wearing only the shield and not adding the face masks. And it's important that we adhere to the right sort of protocol. Thank you for drawing our attention. And
you know, it's interesting he mentions it because it looks like it's become like a lifestyle, like, you know, like a fashion, like a statement. People feel that it's
become very stylish. Yeah.
Fashionable to wear the shield, and we've forgotten the essence of it. Yeah. We have to be reminded.
Because essentially, you cannot do it halfway, right? You have to do it appropriately.
But listen, I don't know the essence of it if you're really indoors.
Yeah, that's also another difficulty. Or you're not milling in a crowd, or you're not with anybody at all. Yeah.
I think people are also trying to run away from the mask as it is and go to the shield because sometimes it is difficult to breathe.
Yeah, like right now, you know, if you have to talk for a long time, it's quite difficult.
I think that's why I'm comfortable with this. You have done well because you go with the fabric. I tried it at the very beginning, but I realized that it becomes really difficult if you have to wear it for a long time. So I like what I'm wearing, and it makes it. I think it's a bit easier to breathe in.
This one is good. Only it's expensive now, so
yes,
and I can't afford it.
And
so
I have to typically, because of the makeup and everything, I have to change it
almost twice a day. I think.
Exactly.
Because it means that if you're going for another recording or something of the sort,
then
or
I can use it.
Or a meeting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we will survive it. This is how we do it. And it's this is 20th of July already, huh?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Time flies, right?
Time.
And coronavirus is making it more difficult for things to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, good morning, by the way. Good weekend?
What's okay? You can say.
Yeah,
events here and there, you know. Life is still going on despite all these. You have to either go do your stuff, go do schooling, or go to an event for somebody, a family activity or work, you know. So.
You know, we have to talk about ways and means. You know, before, like, you do things to survive on the side and not just rely on the salary. But with coronavirus, like, things are becoming just one way.
Yeah, sure, sure. You're very much restricted, you say.
Yeah. So, Roland, me and you, we have to be sharing some ideas so that our viewers, if you've got ideas as well, ways and means, so we can survive other than just rely on the monthly salary because it's becoming tough, man.
I agree. Okay, so we have to start. Today we don't have Gifty joining us, so we'll do it. Lone Rangers.
All right, so it's a heavy daily graphic today. Front page of the paper, PPP elects national executive. There's Nano Forio Wusu, the national chairman of the PPP. COVID-19 testing enhanced, logistics procured, according to Information Minister. Well, last week, on Friday, there was an extensive report in the Daily Graphic from our friend and colleague, Moses Aklobato from the Western region, telling us about how samples have been collected for about 3 months and they haven't gotten the results. Some of the samples have gone bad. It's interesting the updates that we're getting from the briefing yesterday. We'll get into some details. WASI begins today after months of uncertainty and apprehension arising out of the coronavirus disease pandemic. The 2020 West African Senior School Certificate Examination kicks off. Today continues on page 3. It says, but this is Ghanaian candidates only. So in all, 375,737 candidates from 976 schools will be writing the examination at 796 centers throughout the country. Out of the figure, about 188,163 are females, while the remaining 187,573 are males. They've got further breakdown with this story. And then, of course, the president wishing the WASI candidates well, also in the paper. Back on the front page, Electoral Commission 2020 voter registration exercise movement plan. Phase 4 of it is also in the inside pages today. Local government ministry Zoom line disinfect 1,000 markets nationwide. And this is a very important exercise because of the coronavirus. And I like the fact that they're not just doing it once, they continue to do it. So we will be telling you what they're up to today. We've got Maxwell Agbagba, who's been following the Zoom Lion team to give us updates on this. This is when you know that an exercise like this is going on, it gives you confidence so you can go out and do the things that you have to do.
But observe the protocols.
The protocols, absolutely. We are not saying because they've been disinfected, go out and not wear the mask or don't frequently wash your hands.
And I have to say it's a good thing that we had, can you imagine that this was ongoing in terms of the infection rate, and we didn't have the capacity locally to be able to do this?
Yeah.
And it's good that Zoom Lion has been able to come in handy and help with this, because you see, look, now we're living it. And first, it used to be far away, but individually we're experienced, and I could either be a friend or somebody you know, and we're in difficult times.
Oh, it's closer. It's really close. Listen, and I guess if we, maybe Derek Akosam, our producer, can help us. A friend raised the issue of, if you've recorded an incident at home, if you've had a corona positive case at home and the person has recovered, do you have to disinfect the entire house? Can we put a call through? Let's find out from Zoom Lion, so that we can.
I think we can.
It's one of the things that I want to clear up this week.
I think we can.
But let's look at the back page. Let's do the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper whilst we try and clarify that little situation. If you've had some cases in your household, do you have to disinfect the house after a person has recovered from COVID-19? On the back page of the Daily Graphic, cylinder circulation pilot extended to Yendi, and then armed gang robs traders in Wa. That's a tragic one. It says 6 masked armed robbers have attacked traders who are returning to Wa from the Dairo Kura market near Goni in the Wa East district of the Upper East region, robbing them of cash and other valuables last Thursday. Robbers wielding AK-47 assault rifles and locally manufactured pistols barricaded the road to stop the vehicle around 5 p.m. and robbed their victims of all their valuables. During the incidents, one of the travelers, a 22-year-old student, Isahaku Abudi, was shot 3 times in the foot and is currently on admission at the Wa Municipal Hospital. The robbers also took away a shotgun belonging to one of the travelers, Abu Abubakar, who had a permit covering the weapon. That's a tragic one. There's a lot more to the story on the back page of the paper. If you can, grab the paper and read it fully. On to the Finder newspaper now, front page of the Finder. Receiver to pay 151.8 million Ghana cedis to 5,637 ex-staff of collapsed microfinance savings and loans companies. Well, there have been assurances that staff of the microfinance and savings companies that went down will be paid. The receiver is making some commitments. Details on page 2, the Finder newspaper. COVID-19 active cases declining according to the Ghana Health Service. Oforiatta must reconcile government IMF economic data, according to former Finance Minister Seth Terkper. President wishes senior high school finalists good luck as WASI begins today. EC registers over 7.2 million eligible applicants in 16 days. Let's do the Ghanaian Times. That's also very heavy today.
Yeah.
I guess it's because of the Electoral Commission movement
plan,
yes. The front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, NLA warns public against social media lotto fraudsters. WASI begins today 313,837 senior high school students write final exams. 90 former workers drag Coca-Cola to Labour Commission. President resumes work at Jubilee House today after 2 weeks self-isolation. Second phase nationwide disinfection fumigation exercise begins. That's the exercise that we've been telling you about. Also reported in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Why Supreme Court dismissed suit against Ghana-USA defense agreements? Well, the paper is reporting on it in the Ghanaian Times newspaper with a picture of the Defense Minister, Dominic Niti, court throws out case against GRA. Farmer commits suicide after killing his wife. That's also a story on page 3. It says the Mile 5 cottage community in the Takwan Swayam municipality of the Western region is in a double agony as Eric Ahin, a 28-year-old cocoa farmer, commits suicide after allegedly killing his wife in June after shooting Regina Effie Inkom, 25, over divorce issues. Then Swayam police launched a manhunt for Ahin, but later a search party discovered that he had committed suicide in the nearby forests. The Ghanaian Times has got details of this unfortunate story in the paper. You can grab it. And then, of course, if you want to follow the Electoral Commission's movement plan, particularly if you have not registered, you might want to do so. The Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times have the plan. EC sacks 2 officials for alleged illegal registration in private house. That's something that started brewing from towards the end of the week last week. NLA warns public against social media lotto fraudsters. Details of that story also in the inside pages of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So let me do the last one before Roland comes in. My last paper is the Daily Statesman. Front page of the Statesman, COVID-19 active cases drop as Akufo-Addo resumes out-home engagements after 14-day isolation. Finance Minister presents mid-year budget review Thursday. NLA cautions public against lotto fraudsters. President sends best wishes to 313,837 WASI candidates. Basically, what's on the front page and on the back, some sports, but of course, we'll leave it to Benedict when he comes to give you all those updates in sports, Roland.
Well, so let's quickly go to the Daily Guide. Has on the front page, NDC dazed, rejects Interpol red alert on fugitive Adam Mahama. Up there, we have that phase 2 nationwide disinfection underway, and then lotto fraudsters on rampage, we're told. But on the side, they tell you about how the Electoral Commission phase 4 pullout, and it's out there. And then it says 48 pages. So so they've added 48 more pages to the Daily Guide. I'm sure that's why we have the leading dailies in Ghana, the Daily Graphic, and then the Ghanaian Times, all bulky this morning. Active COVID-19 cases dropping. Nana resumes today after quarantine. On the back page is all sports. It says 30 players were quarantined. That is a make that 30 foreign-based Ghanaian players have been quarantined at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence at Pram Pram. Yeah. No, I'm sure it also includes many of them who travel from Ethiopia. You know, a number of them were stranded as well, so you may know. A number of things. He says Nyantechi was doing something right, according to Asamajan. Yeah, so, and then we have a number of stories as well. Oh, okay, all in the Daily Guide. Now, let's go to the Dispatch. Dispatch has on the front page, Rawlings will fail probity test, former associates. I have a side picture of former President Jerry John Rawlings, who currently looks like one of those Moses characters or Noah in those movies that they show us every Christmas and Easter. Yeah, so he's the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And then we have, yeah, okay. EC registered 48.5% projected voters. We're told that is now around just in excess of 7.2 million people registered new. So that's 16 days. This number is for 16 days, all right? Enforcement of sanitation and COVID bylaws, they're beginning today. And the custodian is next, managed by my good friend, Awudu Mahama. Good morning to you, Awudu. The custodian says, I wish you Godspeed in your examinations, Akufo-Addo to WASI candidates. And you know, there's a certain controversy because he stated 313,000 in excess students going to write WAEC, and now we're getting 375,000. So it's gotten many, especially Bright Simmons, who had to make some Twitter post on this subject, but we'll see how it goes. We'll try and speak to the Ghana Education Service and see whether we'll get some headway.
But the figures, if you look at what has been reported in terms of the numbers, it's the same.
Okay, in terms of what number?
The 313,800 and something.
It's all the same. But in the graphic, you read 375,000 going to write the WAEC.
Did I? Okay, let me cross check that.
You did.
So what's the figure? What's the figure?
I think I want to go with the president because the president is the chief executive of the land. Go to the page, you will get to find. And on the statement, the statement is written 313,000. The president also puts out a post and says it's 313,000.
Oh, and then this is 375,737.
So,
and this
the
is
questions have been
313,000. Okay.
And the questions have been, well, you know, we're supposed to get enrollment up, and so the first batch going to write free SHS or going to write the WASI from free SHS should have.
Oh, we need some clarification. Is it 313 or is 375,000?
Yeah, because then if it's 313,000, then what's the argument then about? Look, it's
even the excess is also significantly different. This is 837 and this is 737. So something we have to consolidate the numbers.
Okay. See how it goes.
No.
Well,
we won't see how it goes. We will have to fix this.
We'll fix it. Yesterday I gave a message to Cassandra. Never responded yet, so
Cassandra, respond though.
I'm sure we're trying to figure out how we can respond.
What's the figure? What's the figure?
You know, she's one of the top 10 female PR practitioners in Ghana. Did you know that? Oh,
yes.
You know that? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Because I'm a member of the association. I'm not a paid up, you know.
No, it's cool. IPR is always.
I'm an affiliate member of the institute, so you know. Yes, I know. But they have to clarify this. I mean, we need a fixed number. We can't have different numbers.
So what's your pick?
Oh, there was a story I was looking at. I mean, you just confused me with
sorry, I took you off guard, you know.
with the number, but we will go to myjoyonline.com. Let's start with you, if there's any story of interest there.
I wanted to talk about, there was a news briefing by the Minister for Information, Kojo Ponkrumah, and I thought it's given us headway as to where we are currently by way of our COVID-19 cases. And if you take a look at it, we should have something good to report on. The reality is that we're having to live with this. We're going to live with this for a long time. Our current active cases by today, if you go to the site, it's 4,270. So that, you know, we've been hovering around this 4,000, 5,000, 3,000. Yeah. So the new cases are 600. Maybe that's just the previous one was lower. But look, I think what we should be happy about is that we've been able to manage the fatalities compared to the other countries. So, and that is what we need to keep at. And we can only do that if we complement the work that is being done by the national COVID-19 team. The only problem I have is that when you go to the reasons why we're told it's recoveries and discharges, they say they don't want to test multiple times that they used to before. They used to do before your discharge, or say or confirm that you're recovered. But when it's public officials, we're told that there's a confirmation.
Oh, be specific, because this morning you mentioned it in the news. I was listening to you. Yeah. The senior minister did another test to turn negative, and that's what was announced yesterday.
And then we have even Carlos Ahinkra, when he did that, he issued a formal statement that's given us the indication that the work confirmation test that we're undertaking for him. So I'm asking if, well, an ordinary Ghanaian somewhere in Ashaiman, for example, will have to be discharged without having maybe multiple confirmation tests undertaken, then we need the public officials to be in tune with the way they act and the regimes that they go through.
Absolutely.
With the people. Because for me, I think it smacks of double standards for me. And I feel that, well, you can say that the public officials, if they don't go through the confirmation test, because I've had some interaction with some political actors who told me because they're public officials and they are prone, and their status is prone to be misconstrued. Then, then they have to, so that propaganda doesn't set in. But I think that, I was told that, but that's not the official position of that.
No, but I like the explanation.
But I think that we need to be told why they go through multiple tests before they are let loose
and for the rest of
society.
Us.
And for the rest of the people, we have to.
Unless you want to take as in your own initiative to go and privately do it, which is
expensive,
which is way more. I agree with you.
I'm saying this because we're living the actions day by day in terms of infection going through testing regimes, and then being asked to be discharged. So we know what the processes are for the public. And if officialdom is part of the public, then we should also be seen.
It should be the same.
Yeah,
After all, when we changed it, we cited the World Health Organization changing the protocols. So why should a public official...
I know that we always need leadership, the elite in our society,
Roland,
the rulership, etc.
Yeah, but they're not different from us.
But equity should exist somewhere, I think.
I don't think you should even refine what you're saying. We're supposed to be the same.
If the protocols, diplomatic about it.
No, you shouldn't be. If they say we should all wear masks, it doesn't matter if you're a public official or not. We should all wear masks. If WHO has reviewed the protocols and we are taking it from what they have done, then it should be the same for the people. That's the only way. We're speaking one language. But if you do one thing for the rest of us and you do another thing for, then you're telling us some people are, more important. You have to be more setting about their circumstance than the rest of us. As if we don't have families. We don't live with other people. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is something that we need to follow up on. If you're not doing the double negative test like you used to do before you say somebody is recovered, then don't do it even if it's a public official, because we're all the same people. We're all Ghanaians.
I'm saying that they can do it, but they shouldn't tell us that they've had confirmation tests for negative. No, because
they shouldn't tell us.
As a communication person, I would advise a government official to say, look, don't put this out in the statement.
Listen,
I think it makes a lot of sense.
No, now that they've told us, we know what they're doing, so we can question them. That's it. So this is certainly something that, if we can, we will try and get some answers. You're not doing it for the rest of us, but you're telling us, senior minister, for instance, he's done the test and he's negative. But for everybody else, you are just discharged after you go through the 14 days and then you're discharged. That's why we have the recovery / discharge. Why can't we have that for everybody else if we're all the same?
Yeah,
that's just what we are saying.
I know.
Let's do myjoyonline.com with the rest of the time that we have, Roland. I feel you on this one. Yeah.
Well, so we have to go to myjoyonline.com, and if you go there, you have as our main story, final year student of Methodist Girls Senior High School dies after falling ill on campus.
Yeah, this is a sad one. Actually, I listened to the father of the girl. I think he said meningitis or something like that, but she had complained of headache previously. Really, really sad.
Okay. Other stories, don't be intimidated by military. Go and register. Mahama to Volta region residents. Akufo-Addo to resume work on Monday, July 20 after 14 days in isolation. 607 new COVID-19 cases, and then 3 more deaths as Ghana's case count climbs to 27,000. I did a post and somebody said I should be talking about only the current active cases, which I agree. Yeah, but
I was just going to say, I have issues with people who tend to tell you what you should do when you do your private posts. Why don't you also post your own?
Oh, me, I was just posting. There was no mystery.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If somebody feels that you should do something else, why don't they also do it?
Oh, I agree.
After all, it's your own personal site. You see, that's why I don't do a lot of Facebook. Otherwise.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know what they call him hunting. Interior Minister is dismissing claims of secret recruitment into security forces. He says it doesn't exist. If anything at all, it will be made public, so you'll get to know. So all those claims, it is never true.
But I think
Western North region records first COVID-19 death, and then we have government considering bonds to clear National Health Insurance Authority's debt owed suppliers. Meanwhile, we've had the CEO of the Ghana Bankers Association, Daniel Ato Kwame Mensah, passing on. I
was just going with the recruitment. I was just going to say that, as soon as they hear or they see that something like that is out there, they have to come and clarify.
So that's what the Interior Minister
They have to come as quickly as possible. People are taking advantage of others and using all sorts of means. I mean, I heard Omahine Kwabena Sante say, because he was off work for a while, he wasn't well, and apparently somebody was using him to take monies from people.
To scam people.
Exactly.
Right.
And oh, Charlie, I don't know, we all have to be really careful. We all don't have enough money right now. We're all trying to survive. People are trying to be smart. So please don't let somebody outsmart you. Just open your eyes and be careful.
Okay.
Okay, I guess that's what it is with the review, Roland Walker.
Yeah. All right. So we'll have Benedict also with the latest sports headlines. Manchester United. Charlie. They said that match was not important against Chelsea, so I won't talk about it. I won't talk about I think the loss.
I think the memories. But when Manchester, you see, the reason I support Manchester United is not just even because of me. It's because
Benedict also
my 8-year-old who cannot sleep because Manchester United lost to Chelsea.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that when you buy children paraphernalia, let me use that big word. You buy jerseys and things for them of the team that you support. That's what happens. So when they wake up, they see red.
That guy, they see red. That little man is telling me about Phil Jones.
I know, and he knows Phil Jones. Phil Jones left the club before he got old.
Yeah, but he read about it because of the defeats. So it's bringing back memories, even for an 8-year-old. Listen, yeah, but still, United forever. Stay with us.
You have no choice to be forever. Sports forever.
You have mouth right now if you are lost.
The Monday morning, welcome to the sports segment here on AM Show. A lot to show you this morning. Of course, the English Premier League, some games were played and we still have our eyes on the top 4. And the English FA Cup semi-final games were played with 2 teams in the finals. We know Arsenal and Chelsea all won their respective semi-final games, and by virtue of that, both will play in the finals on August 1. We also will show you how it all ended in the Spanish La Liga. Real Madrid champions. We'll tell you the 3 teams that have been relegated. Some Ghanaian players are in there. The 3 teams that have been relegated from the Spanish La Liga, plus Lewis Hamilton winning another Grand Prix. We'll talk about that. But we have to start here on the local scene. And the man most of us grew up watching done and made the sport of boxing great for us. Turned 62 yesterday. Now, the Professor Azuma Zunzum Nelson was trending on social media with a lot of birthday wishes. Now, he's been speaking to us, and for him, he was elated with the kind words from the public.
I feel so good, so great. I'd like to thank Ghanaians for their support, because if they are not there, I cannot be Azuma Nelson today. You know, and I've done my part for the nation. You know, so I want everybody to do his part too, so that the nation will go forward. You know, I'm trying to do more. Today I'm 62 years old, you know, and I'm trying to bring young boys, young guys to become world champions, so that they can follow my footsteps, so that they can give we can achieve more in this country, so that the world will hear about us, about Ghana and Africa more. You see, boxing is an act. If you know the act, you know, first of all, give yourself to God, know the art, and you go far. This word, there's time for everything. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. There's time for everything. It looked like boxing's coming down, but to get to a point, it will raise again. You know, so we pray that God will bring the champions. It's God who will create champions. God will create more champions for this country, so that this country can be famous in the whole world, you know.
So that's the Professor Azuma Zunzum Nelson, the boxing legend. Yesterday was his birthday. He turned 62. From us here at Joy Sports and the Multimedia family, we wish him a happy belated birthday. Well, of course, we have to do some more here on the local scene, and the Ghana Swimming Association marked this year's World Aquatics Day at the Accra Stadium over the weekend. Now, Joy Sports Haruna Mubak was there and has come through with this report.
World Aquatics Day is to celebrate aquatic sports and create awareness in the public domain, which is in line with the directive of FINA, a world governing body for swimming and water-related sports. President of the Ghana Swimming Association, Theophilus Wilson Edzi, explained what necessitated the celebration of the World Aquatics Day.
In 2016, at Budapest, Hungary, FINA and the World Aquatics decided that there will be one day that we all mark. And in Ghana, we did that in the beginning of the year 2018, 1st September. It's been 2 years now, but we thank the Almighty Lord that a few nations in the world marking today, Ghana has been quite innovative and celebrating this day by marking it with a seminar.
A seminar was organized as various coaches of the swimming clubs in the country divided themselves into 5 groups, 3 each, for a study on drowning prevention and water safety. National swimming coach Abiu Jackson led the seminar.
Well, the World Aquatics Day is the day that we celebrate the things that we do, and in Ghana we decided to hold this workshop that will help us in a few things. We dealt with the length to swim and safety, and then we also dealt with training during the COVID era. I think all in all it's been a useful day, and I think that we've had fun.
Coach, had it not been for the COVID, we understand competitions would have been organized instead of this seminar. Does it take anything away from this special day?
No, it does not. Definitely not, because there are different things that we can do. I mean, one of the things that I say is, whenever there's a challenge, look for the advantages in there. This has given us an opportunity to look at other ways of training. It has given us an opportunity to look at other things that we could do in the interim. And for me, I think that there's always something good in anything that happens, provided you look hard enough.
Okay, so I'm here with Charles Mensah, who is the technical director of the Ghana Swimming Federation. Director, thanks for your time.
Welcome.
With the seminar today, what benefits do you think the coaches will derive from a technical point of view?
I believe the instructors gave out some tips on how to learn to swim, and it's swimming is when you start from the kits, the kits, that is where you develop the sports. And from what the instructor did, they started the basics, and I believe most coaches will have the advantage of knowing the techniques in swimming, and this will help them. You know, even at the highest level, the highest swimmers don't know the basic techniques. It is difficult for the national coach to teach basic techniques. So when you get such a seminar, it enhances your technical know-how.
The association is awaiting government to give them the green light for the organization of competitions.
And we also have to tell you that later tonight, the second part of our Hotline documentary, With the Skins, will be airing at 8:30. It's a story on leprosy and how people may be living with it without knowing. Here are excerpts of Seth Kwame Boateng's latest work.
In the central region, we joined Dr. Benedict Kwao and his team of experts in their case tracing mission, and this took us to a community called Isumanjura in the Bremane Sikuma district. There, we met this 64-year-old traditional birth attendant, Abena Ahima. She has lived in this community for over 40 years. Abena has symptoms of leprosy, but she's not aware of what it is.
Me kuti adibim ze menai ho ya menai ya nka de poto na me bob mkoto edu bi me de bobo panda ngwahwe ano so ayedan ayeye mama to ma adum te bibiduru na manuama no
na woni nurses and doctors think some say dey be na yo
anu mo me de won wan kira yale pati ayam no what wo babla me edu
na wo hwa na ye yawe be ya na wan kasa woni
there's
a past injury.
Well, it is not surprising that Abena Ahima is not aware what she is battling with is leprosy. Dr. John Amuasi shockingly reveals just a few health professionals are able to even identify its symptoms and go ahead to treat.
For sure, medical doctors and nurses have been trained in leprosy. It's taught in the medical schools, in the nursing schools, midwifery schools, and in the allied health schools. But the question is, you may be taught something, but if it's not something you come into contact with on a regular basis, you will see it and you will not see it. All right? So because it's a disease that is not so common compared to other infectious diseases like malaria and typhoid and other non-communicable diseases like the hypertension and the other cardiovascular diseases, it won't be the first point of call. In fact, most people will see it and think it is what we call tinea versicolor, or this disease that is caused by the fungus on the skin, because it presents exactly the same way.
Back to Abena, Dr. Kwao and his team have identified some signs of leprosy, so they go ahead to examine her.
The thing is that if you lose sensation when you get injured, it means, or when you are likely to get injured, you cannot withdraw your feet to protect you from that injury because you don't feel. So I'm going to test to see whether there are any areas without that protective sensation. So I'll test at the tips here and then along the sides. What's in car? Now can I want to when can she why? What's in car? So this area. Let's go. Hi. So you realize that the three, there was no sensation. It means that she can easily get injured here. So you understand why she has this ulcer here, because she can't feel here, 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 and here. So that protective sensation here is not there.
He then moves to her hand.
And in this case, she's lost the protective sensation on the hands. That's why she has this burn injury. She'll tell you that when she had it, she didn't feel the, but she realized that there was blisters there.
Yes, what they guessed is right. She has leprosy and has come into contact with many people here because of her job as a traditional birth attendant.
We are suspecting to have leprosy, has got very dry soles. And we know that when you lose those nerves that cause sweating, your soles can get very dry and they can crack easily and form wounds, ulcers. So you can see just by looking at her feet that it's very dry. If you touch it, you feel it.
Aside from the lack of sensation in her palm, fingertips and some parts of her feet, there are also visible patches on her face and some parts of her body. There is also evidence of nerve enlargement.
So she can get the ulcer again because this area is not protected. The skin is, the sole is dry. It can get infected, it can affect the bones, the ulcer will continue, it won't heal. It can actually get much worse than this.
And as a result of that, we're also showing the last part today. Make sure that you stay with us, and at 8:30 this evening, we will bring to you some of these harrowing but very interesting stories about leprosy. What we have been told, that is just 0.01% of the population that usually is infected. So it is not a public health issue. But the concern is, by the time that some of these cases get to the prying eyes of those in public health authority, then it becomes a concern, and ultimately it degenerates into what you've seen in that documentary. And there was a program manager for leprosy who was in there and trying to do the examinations. Now, moving on, the Savlugu School for the Deaf is the only school in the 4 regions of the north that caters for all children who are deaf or dumb or have hearing impairments. Now, poor infrastructure, delays in the release of subventions, among others, continue to impact negatively on academic work and the general well-being of the pupils. My colleague Enes Menu visited the Savlugu School for the Deaf before the shutdown of schools, and then also before the whole period of coronavirus. Here's what he found out.
A peaceful community full of cheerful and brilliant pupils whose warm smile and energy create a beautiful environment full of love. The silence here is golden. Established in March 1978, the school was initially set up as a unit under the Nyohini Rehabilitation Center in Tamale, but was subsequently moved to the Savelugu Middle Boarding School located on the outskirts of the town. The school is old, and its classrooms and dormitories very deplorable. The campus is always eerily silent every time. That's not because the pupils here cannot speak. They speak in sign language, the language of the deaf. But this silence is often broken by the squeaks and squawks from the bats who share the dormitories with the 400 deaf pupils on campus. Though most of these students cannot hear the noisy bats, the presence of these animals seriously affects education. Gertrude Dasa, the immediate past headmistress of the school, explains.
As you can see, the nettings and most of the things, the louvers, everything is up with time, and it leaks badly. At the beginning of this rainy season, the portions of the roof was taken off, and we had to buy some zinc, and then we brought the situation under control. But still, it's not the best. It is not good for people to live in a place like that, but it is not easy to get rid of those bats. We have sprayed the place, we have, especially when they are on holidays. That is something we are battling with. And we are hoping that when the renovation is done, maybe there are ways that they can prevent these bats from coming in.
Do you have enough beds?
They do not have enough beds. If this year, as we are still taking them, if more girls should come, it will be a problem for us.
Currently, they are sharing their facility with all manner of insects, and a special type of flies, we are told, invade the campus around this time of the year. The pupils are also forced to share cups, bowls, spoons, and attend dining in batches. This is certainly not ideal for COVID-19 pandemic. But all of these are exacerbated by the unhygienic situation attributed to the lack of reliable potable water in the school.
In fact, the whole of last term, it was an ordeal that we went through. Their tanker was down. The tractor that was also helping us at the veterinary college was also down. It was not easy for us. Yes. You can see that in our dormitories we have water closets, but we cannot use them because we don't have water. And if there's no water, you cannot use water closets. So we are all making do with the KVIP. And so, you know, KVIP is a distance from the dormitory. And in case in the night somebody wants to go to toilet, it's not easy. So we think it is not good enough because we have children as young as 4 years here with us.
And as if all of these challenges are not enough, the school does not have adequate staff for both academic and domestic purposes. This has taken a toll on the few committed ones.
I've been here since 2010. I'll say almost 9 years now. And as a classroom teacher, in fact, there are a lot of challenges that I've been facing. In the classroom like this, the number of students that we handle, there are many, they are hearing impaired. But you go to a classroom and you meet about 30 students, more than 30 in a classroom. And a single teacher, I find it very difficult to handle children of that such. They are not like those who are hearing. So their attention to the individual is always a problem. If we have more in classrooms, at least maybe some of the classes can be divided. If we have 30 and you give 15, and we have enough teachers, they can take them so that more attention can be given to the students. And also to that, because of the number, the textbooks for the students are always not enough. You can imagine 34 students, and they'll be given hearing impaired, and you see maybe 2 or 3 textbooks. How can they all come together and read? It's not like the hearing whereby one will read and they all hear. Everybody needs to have a book so that as you read, then they see what is inside the books, but it's always not there.
I'm the only house mother. We were 2, but the other one went on retirement on the 2018 March. Since then, we didn't get anybody. And another challenge is we don't have clinic in the hospital, in the school. So anytime a child is sick, I will send the child to the hospital. Maybe you will go and they will admit the child. You have to stay there and leave the children. The problem is the small ones. But now that the grown-ups have understood me, they help me with the washing, the children's things, washing of the children's things. I have about 183 boys.
So I wonder how these children are able to keep a smile and radiate such joy in the midst of these problems. Perhaps a gift from God, but their fingers remain crossed, hoping that one day government and the society will open its ears to their plight.
Well, so it is important we have to put all this into perspective. And we know that the School of the Deaf in Savelugu is just one of the many special schools that we have in our country. And while we're keeping a focus on the mainstream schools, what is available also for them. And these type of interventions ultimately means that within the period of coronavirus, they also can have some solace. And well, we will get to the producer of that great story, Ernest Kujomenu, but as we increase or improve the conversation on this, we also do know that the headmistress of the school, Nora Nanso, had said that, well, the infrastructural challenges still persist despite efforts to renovate some of the structures. She, however, says measures have been put in place to keep the students safe during this pandemic. And we'll bring you more on News Decks. But we'll also get onto the phone lines, get to speak to some members in authority, and also get to know what is being done for them. We will get to Peter Pate-Anti. He is with the Institute for Education Studies, and then we'll get to have a better perspective as to how generally this conversation needs to be had. We also do know that the West African Examination Council is starting with the WAEC for over 313,000 or 375,000, depends on which of the figures you want to take. But we generally do know that the first batch of the free SHS system, they are taking their WAEC examinations starting today, and they are doing this in a period of coronavirus, but observing the needed protocols. So we'll also get onto the stream and also get to speak to officials on the subject. Well, we have to take, and Peter has already joined us. Peter Anti is with the Institute for Education Studies, and IFES, we do know, has been doing a lot of research on this, as well as what it means within this period for schools to either keep open or go through the examination. Peter, good morning. It's a good thing we're speaking to you. Before we get to the subject of WAEC and how the students are in a good place to start, this special school we have in Savelugu has some difficulties, but generally, how can we put this into perspective, the mainstream schools and the special schools within this period of coronavirus?
All right, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, if you follow global education trends, you would realize that for some time now, we've been talking about inclusive education. Inclusivity has been a key word in our educational system for global monitoring. And it's interesting that when it comes to our country, we do not seem to pay much attention to inclusivity in terms of allowing students from different backgrounds with different challenges assessing complete education. So if you see if you look at the one of the reports that have been released this year, I think this month, they talk about all means all. All means all means that irrespective of whoever you are, if you are saying that we are ensuring that everybody accesses quality and equitable education by 2030, it means everybody. It doesn't mean some group of people. It doesn't mean those who are mentally fit. It doesn't mean those who are physically fit. It means everybody. And that is something that as a country, we have to pay attention to. I admit that we seem to have an inclusive policy that has been worked on, I think, for the over the it was released somewhere 2013, 2014, if my memory serves me right. But then we have not been able to implement the things in those in that document forcefully. And that is why you come to our country and you see that schools that are supposed to serve students that are having challenges do not seem to get the requisite attention that they need to get. And we need to say this forcefully, that especially in a period of pandemic, we have to see how we are treating these schools and how best we'll be able to lift them up in order that they will get the kind of quality education that we so much desire.
And the reason why we're having this conversation is that the Savelugu School is just one of the several special schools that we have. But if we want to mainstream this conversation, it means that we need to broaden it. How do we move from the normal ones and then say that the special attention also for these special schools need to be given within these times?
Well, the first thing that we have to note is that there should be, I am not sure if there is a special division of the Ghana Education Service or the Ministry of Education that solely deals with these special schools, like we are doing now with the Technical and Vocational Institutes. If you look at the new pre-tertiary bill that is being discussed in the system, there's going to be a deputy director in charge of this kind of tertiary and vocational education. We can do same for the special school, so that at the national level, we will have somebody who oversees these things. I'm saying this, I'm not privy to whether there's somebody there. And if there's somebody there, then it means that that person is actually not doing a good job, and we have to look at his job description again. So that is something that we need to do. If it gets that national attention, then we would note that that person will be able to fight for budget allocation for these schools, and then it will streamline, and these schools will get the needed attention and recognition that we want. We cannot, in 2020, sit down and see the deterioration of these schools that are supposed to serve these kids who, sometimes by no fault of theirs, are into these special conditions.
But if we have to serve them, it also means that there needs to be the equity, and it has to be from the top to the bottom as well. I'm talking about the special schools. Where do we start? How do we do the recognition and the allocations?
Yeah, I think for the top, you would realize that even at the tertiary institutions, these students are given special attention especially in most of our tertiary institutions. So I think the focus should be at the down there. We should have a special budget allocated to these particular schools and provide them with the needed infrastructure. They are not many. That is something that I don't seem to understand, because they are not that much. And if you are able to raise school buildings across the length and breadth of the country for our normal schools, I don't know why it's difficult for us to build a state-of-the-art building for these special schools and equip the teachers and the authorities in these schools to deliver education to these particular kids. I still cannot understand why we've not been able to do that. It just simply means that we have not given them the requisite attention. And as I've indicated earlier on, for the past 3-4 years, the Global Education Funds, what have we been talking about is inclusivity. And if that is what we want to achieve, then it means that as a country, we are really lagging behind. Okay.
And I also do know that your institution, that the Institute for Education Studies, has been doing some great work recently. You decided to track the reopening of schools, the views of teachers and students within this period of the pandemic. And as we envelope this into the bigger picture, what did you find out about the concerns, the perception, and the general atmosphere for students and teachers within the reopening within the pandemic?
Yeah, we are doing series of studies. Of course, we can say that Ghana, for example, have not experienced a pandemic before. So we dubbed a research project as Education in the Midst of a Pandemic. And we are doing series of studies. This is the second report that we have released. And we first looked at whether schools should be reopened, and we published the report. The second report looked at, we tracked the provisions of the PPEs and the mood of the students and the teachers as to whether they still would wish that the schools were opened or not. And we have seen that some of the schools in certain districts are still lacking these PPEs. We mentioned the districts in the reports, but one of the things that was profound in our findings was that the students seems to want to complete the education. This is a point that most people seems to ignore. And we realized that almost over 70% of the students that we spoke to, and of course we spoke to over 700 students across 80 districts in 13 regions in Ghana. And we realized that most of them would want to finish the education and then leave and know what lies ahead of them. They would not want the schools to be closed down and then go and sit home without knowing what to do next. And they said this by giving two reasons. Two major reasons were prominent in there. One, as I've indicated, they wanted to finish their school and leave. And the second one was that some of them also indicated that their parents have already bought their forms for them. They are waiting results form that are made available for students by the universities and tertiary institutions. And so they see no point in asking them to go and then stay in the house without writing the exams. So far as that initiative has been taken, they need to write the exams and know the way forward. But then we also realized that psychologically they would need to be talked to. So we made a profound statement that the Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service should, as a matter of urgency within this week, because they are starting the exams this week, we were suggesting to the Ministry and Ghana Education Service to allow counselors and psychologists to troop the schools, go through the schools and talk to them, advise them. Of course, we know that it's going to be difficult for the Ghana Education Service to employ counselors across the length and breadth of the country to do that. So we suggest that the Ghana Education Service should issue a directive to all school authorities that they should allow their counselors in the schools to address the students before they write the exams. So within this week, we expect this to be carried out. Teachers in the schools should address the students, encourage them, talk to them, let them see the need for them to have a stable mind to write the exams. That's something that we owe these students, and we have to do it as early as possible.
Now, the students and the safety would always be on their mind. And I guess that's why you recommend the provision of the counseling services for them. What should be available? What did you find out should be available for the stakeholders outside these campuses? We're talking the parents and then the relevant bodies that also tend to deal with the schools.
Yes, so there are almost over 22% of the respondents that indicated that they have still not received the full complement. And when you say the full complement, we are saying that they might have the Veronica buckets, they might have some amount of nose masks, but they will not have the thermometer guns. Or some have the thermometer guns, they don't have enough Veronica buckets, or they don't have enough nose masks. So when you say full complement, it means that in that school, they might have one or two of these things, but they don't have everything. And we have listed those districts. Some of them, I think Akumfi district is one of them. I don't have the report rightly here. Akumfi district is one of them. Kansina, Nankana, Awutu, Senya, and some of the districts we have indicated them. Of course, we did not provide the schools for good reason, because we respected the anonymity and then the confidentiality of our respondents. So, but we have given an idea of where the districts are. So the Ministry of Education should, as a matter of urgency, visit these schools and provide them. We also said that they should do an audit, because it seems that some of these things were sent actually to the field, but they have found their way somewhere. So they should do an audit as early as possible to identify these gaps and provide for them. So for us, we are insisting that these students stay in school and finish their exams. We should make available the needed things that they have to. And we're also thinking that parents who communicate to their kids on phone should, at this moment in time, talk to them. They should cite them. They should advise them. They should continue to encourage them so that they would get the clear mind to write the exams.
Indicate that at least 69.3% of these students and teachers wanted schools to be reopened in the first perspective. But you stay on Zoom. We've been joined on the line by the Deputy PR boss for the Ministry of Education, Kwesi Obing-Fosu. Thank you for joining us. Now, we know that WIEC is starting the examinations today for the students in senior high school. Please, how many students are participating in the WIEC this year?
All right, good morning, my brother, and then good morning to your listeners. Yes, from the figures given by WIEC, we are expecting to have 737 students write the exam this morning. As I speak to you now, I am on the campus of Fafraha Community Senior High School, where students are preparing. So supervision and monitoring have started, and I'm here. I'm on campus now. So preparation is going on because it is not a core subject. Most of the students that are taking the practicals are also prepared and ready and are taking the exams this morning.
Okay. So the 375,000 students, does it include those from private senior high schools?
The figure I gave you is the figure from WIEC.
I understand that.
If I get your question right, you wanted to know if it includes the private students, right?
Yes, please.
Yes, and I'm saying that yes, it is right. It includes everybody who is sitting for the exam, inclusive of the free SHS public school students as well.
Okay, so how many students who are benefiting from free senior high school education across the public schools are sitting?
So we are looking at around over 313,000 students from the public schools. That is under the free SHS program.
Okay. Now there's an important component of all this, making sure we do this under strict adherence to social distancing protocols and other COVID-19 protocols. How are these being maintained or implemented?
Okay, so as I said earlier, if you've observed the way WIEC conducts the exams over the period, when we talk about social distancing, it is something that has been part of our exam setting. That is, in this case, people are well spaced up, people are arranged such that they don't get opportunity to eavesdrop or stretch and then, as somebody said, peep on other people's examination papers. But what we are going to ensure now is that because of COVID, if there is a need to further separate the districts and arrange it such that there will be no contact, there will be no encounter among the students, we're going to ensure that. For the places I've been to and I've visited their halls, I think they've done that. They've reduced the number of students in the hall, and some are even using the classrooms. They have arranged all the desks in the classrooms as well. So the protocols are being observed here. As I entered the school, while I was talking to you, I needed to pause because I was going through the normal routine checks, taking my temperature, and I was being asked to wash my hands before I can even get out from my car. So I believe everything is under control. They are ensuring the protocols are being observed.
Well, I have one more question for you, but just let me go back to Mr. Ante. Now, Mr. Ante, you had Mr. Kwesi Obing-Fosu, the Deputy PR boss for the Ministry of Education. What do you say to this? It falls in line with your observations, right?
Yeah. I think this morning I have not even stepped out, so I don't know what is happening on various campuses. But for the past 2 weeks that we were on the ground, as I said, some of the schools seems to have some of these PPEs. Some do not actually have. We are yet to start monitoring the exams and see the provision of the of adherence to the health protocol so that we can speak to it. So if he is on the ground and he's saying this is what he's found out, I would defer to him for now.
But this is good. The way we're having this trickling in, that we have to reopen schools, and so even the examinations being conducted within the structure of the COVID-19 protocols sends a good signal, doesn't it?
Yes, and that is the motivation of us at the Institute for Education Studies. That at least, you see, I think this position some people did not appreciate, but maybe posterity will be the best judge. We have kept students in school for 3 years. They were just about few weeks to write the exams, and then we were hit by a pandemic, and we asked them to go home. Now, at a point in time, we saw globally that schools, others were reopening with different standards, and they had protocols available for them to go in. Now we adopted same, and then we reopened school partially for graduating students. Now, if along the way there have been challenges, the two issues that come out is, should we close the schools, or we manage these challenges so that they write their exams and then they leave campuses? Now, this is a critical decision that needed to be taken. And if some of us supported the continuous stay of students on campus, it's just simply because you cannot psychologically torture students, bring them on campus, and then ask them to go back without them knowing when they would come back and write the exams. It was something that was difficult for us to pick. And that is why when we went to the field and we saw that almost 70% and over of the students were eager to write their exams, we said, yes, this is what should actually happen. And we are hoping that we will have an event-free examination. The students will be able to write their exams and leave campus. Then we know what to do with the rest of the students and the rest of the academic year. But so far as that there's time, we should encourage the students to write the exams. I think that is something that we as I said, we owe them, and we hope that they will sail through successfully. At least.
Mr. Obing-Fosu, you're still on the line.
I'm here.
Yeah, great. So, good thing so far. There's a little bit of controversy that we need to clarify, though. I don't know whether maybe you can provide it or it has come to your attention. It's about the numbers. The numbers, and that incrementally will mean that we haven't gotten the incrementals based on what the argument is for why we needed free SHS for the first batch. It looks like the number, what's the percentage of the increment from those that have not benefited and so sat for the 2019 WASI?
Okay, so I've followed that argument over the weekend. That is yesterday when it started on the various social media portals. But if you observe the figures, this is the first batch of the free tickets. And don't forget, my brother, free tickets was characterized by several theories from so many people that didn't believe in the implementation of this policy. So that affected the first batch of enrollment. That notwithstanding, we were able to enroll students that have not gotten the opportunity to attend school for so many years. So what happened for the first batch? That I have the figures. I'm using my phone. I'm doing monitoring. I have the figures on my phone. So I may not be able to speak to the figures. But what I can tell you is that if you follow the kind of enrollment figures that we had, we were not going to get anything different from what was happening from the previous years. The additional figures will come from those who were enrolling but didn't get opportunity as at that time. And it was the first time the program was being rolled out. People didn't even believe in the program as being a feasible one, as going to be a success. So if you look at the first batch of the first teachers, the enrollment figures were a little around 10,000 or so from the previous year. That is 2019 enrollment. So there was an increment all the same, but not as astronomical as the previous or the following year. If you compare the second batch and the third batch, there you will see the actual increase in figures percentage-wise. So the first year was characterized by a lot of theories and sentiments. So you can understand why we couldn't record the big difference with respect to percentage. But if you compare the figures to the years that follow, there you will see when people believed in the policy, when people realized that the policy had come to stay, the policy is producing results, people have actually benefited for a whole year without any hits. People have gone through and have not paid a dime. So now it is true. It is for real. So let's get ourselves involved. There you see the astronomical increase in numbers. There you see people partaking, people releasing their children to go for the first teachers. So we can talk about the figures later. I don't have the figures now, but these are the reasons that contributed to the numbers we saw for the first, that is those who are writing now. Okay. So, Mr. Obinfosu, you're saying that from 2021, 2022, the figures then will reflect the true state of its embracement, right? Sure. The figures are already out there, so you can check. All right. If I should get off the phone, if I was in the car, I would have taken the laptop and then I will let you have the figures. Because if you are talking about, we have 1.2 million students in school now, as compared to 800,000 for the previous year. Did you understand? Yes. So we have an increase of over 400,000. And these numbers are spread across the various years of enrollment figures. So from the 2021, 2022, you have figures far above the 275 we are talking about now. We are talking about figures in the region of 400,000 for the 2 years, which you can just take a look and then give to listeners. So the actual figures, that astronomical increase in numbers for our SHS students, you can see it from the second year of first teachers, and then the third year, that is those who are in first year and those who are in second year. It is clearly there, clearly stated there, clearly written. It stands out for you to see that those figures were actually on the rise as compared to the first batch of first teachers, which recorded some increase, but not as huge as we all expected. Well, my good friend, thank you for helping us do the discussions this morning. Very, very much received. Kwesi Obinfosu is the Deputy PR Head for the Ministry of Education, helping us there. And also early on, we had Peter Ante, who works with the Institute for Education Studies. But we also know that this is just one of a broader conversation we want to have this morning. And we're talking about how we're having this, but also the number of cases we're having. And Professor Alfred Yorson, an infectious disease expert and a public health expert as well, is joining us. And good morning to you. You're streaming with us. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Great.
How are you?
Yeah, great. I'm okay. And I know that the WASI has become important because the students need to move on. And you will say this has been well received by the medical community?
Generally, yes. Once we got the children into school in the first place, there was no reason to send them back home. So that was going to create a much bigger problem. So once they've gotten into school and we know where they are in relatively more confined areas, then all we needed to do was to improve our targeting and tracing. Wherever a case is detected, you move in, you do all the right things, and still keep the children in school. So now that they are in school, all must be done to ensure the safety of the children, the safety of the teachers, and then give assurance to the parents that the children are being well taken care of. And then we can hopefully see them through their exam, which is, for us, the crucial point. Once they get through the exam, then measures can be taken put in place to then send them back home safely.
The rate at which we're recording the cases, just
at a briefing by the Minister of Information on Sunday afternoon, we're told that, look, it looks like, not that we're out of the woods, but we're getting to see some improvements. As a medical person and somebody who is also in the field of practice, what would you say to some of these information that we tend to get?
Yes, there are multiple things we need to consider. And generally what I believe the National Health Service was putting across was that the cumulative figures, that is, all the persons we've tested positive match, those numbers will certainly continue to increase. However, it is the rate of increase as well as the number of recovery. So if we are going on a trajectory where we are having increasing people recovering, the numbers of new infections may be going up. If our recovery exceeds the new infections, then with time you will see that gradually that in all sincerity may be the ones that will effectively transmit the virus from one person to the other. And therefore, if we continue with that, as we move on, let's say you are 28,000 and your recoveries are 27,000, which means effectively the active cases are only 1,000. That is, for example, if we do not continue on the trajectory and we relax and do things otherwise, bring people together in masses and do things that will increase the rate of new infections, then the number of active infections will continue to increase, and it's from among those that unfortunately some may perish. But for those who are mainly asymptomatic, to have a large number of those, that is good. What we need to continue to observe and to do is to reduce the number of new infections being recorded.
Now, just 148 fatalities. Well, you can say we have confirmed cases and we're having 27,000 up to date and all that, but it looks like we've been able to manage the fatalities by the ratio of the infection that we're having. How were we able to do that?
Yes, generally, that is one of the fortunate aspects of the pandemic, I would say. Our fatality rates have relatively been lower. Multiple factors could account for this, and we will also say that the way we handle the epidemic right from the beginning, active surveillance, enhanced surveillance. So in that time, we got those who were infected, who otherwise would have spread it rapidly in the communities. We try to confine this to the minimum. So it is generally the approach we took as a nation in terms of surveillance, contact tracing, enhanced surveillance, and getting all those who had come into contact with others quickly into isolation, quickly into treatment. Once you bring people into treatment early, then you are able to manage the complications. And here we must pay a lot of tribute to our health workers who are in the front line, who are doing everything, sometimes under very difficult conditions, to save the life of our folk. And we must commend them. They've done quite a great job and they continue to do. This has been going on for several, now going forward. The apathy, tiredness, demotivation, these are all factors that can creep in. But so far, the health workers, all those biomedical scientists doing testing and all that, they have really worked hard. And as a nation, we should be grateful for it. And I think it's all contributing to what picture we are seeing now.
For public health purposes, if you compare us to, let's say, some of the developed countries, and then even the countries that have had reinfections, because maybe there was a restriction period either a lockdown or some loose restrictions, and then the easing of such restrictions, how would be what would be your observation, and how do you think we need to follow a pattern based on what we've already done to keep this on track?
Yes. The countries learn from experiences of the other. And as some places were in the epidemic, so others had the opportunity to learn from what happened. We are Africa generally, and we in so we have and therefore we were able to put in measures, closing our borders quite early, and then the numbers that had already entered were not very high at that time relative to others. But in other areas, this was not so. They had so many more communities present, and the risk was relatively high, and therefore they could record what numbers they were recording. We, as I said, were fortunate. We have learned from some of the things, and then the national response relatively was quick, was swift, and that's what has brought us thus far. But we shouldn't, going forward, think that things are okay. It's not okay. We are nowhere near being okay. All the measures is rather more important now to be strict, and therefore the number of active cases will continue to reduce.
On the continent, we've been touted to be one of the first 5 countries. Of course, South Africa is always at the top. That they are recording high numbers because they are doing more testing, and we also have followed through, and we've been praised for it. How should we continue with this?
Yes, the testing is important, it's critical. We need to continue to test. It is only through testing that we see the real picture. Therefore, the fact that you test more, you get more, it's important, but it's not adequate. We still need to continue to test. And all the challenges, we should, as we go on, try as much as possible to reduce the turnaround time for receiving results. Measures in place. So as for testing, we need to continue to test as we are doing. We need to put in measures to decentralize the testing as much as possible so that all areas of the country will have capacity to test. It's going to be their own through testing, actively following cases, and then making sure those who recover are discharged and get back into the community.
Right. You mentioned the delays in the result, and all of us tend to experience it. I was just having a conversation with my colleague, Mamavio Swabwaja, about how all of us have gone through the public regime of testing, and when you know that the results are delaying, it also means that you are not in this alone. Now, how is that, based on your experience, problematic for the overall projections, whether recent or for the immediate future?
Yes, one of our stronger points, as you mentioned, as a nation, has been our ability to test relatively many more people than other countries. But that in itself is fraught with some challenges. Right from the beginning of the pandemic, there were challenges, they were delayed. At a point, we were able to clear the backlog. And we must say and congratulate the workers in this area who bent their backs to work so hard. But sometimes the numbers are overwhelming and challenging, as we said, because we didn't have a lot of avenues for testing. Private sector came in, they've done so well. So we encourage some of these partnerships to happen. It may not necessarily be only at the public places. If private partners can come on board, do testing, get results for people as quickly as possible, and also the challenges with reagents, with commodities that are needed for the testing, if they are available, and then the facilities will be able to do more testing, and thus reduce the turnaround time. So there are a number of factors, and then limit the number of places that the test. We have tried to overcome some of these challenges, but others still persist. And as we move on, we should look in this direction. More testing areas, availability of reagent, commodities, and all that needed to do the testing. And also partnerships, private partners and others can come in and support.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Alfred Yorson, a public health expert and infectious disease expert as well, and teaches with the medical school, and so helps us continuously with some of the bigger conversations on the subject. And that's where we have to take a break. Again, we did tell you, we'll have Senor Jose, who is leading that private sector fund and convening and making sure that we have now a foremost infectious disease center. And Mamavi Osabaji had been doing a lot of work since the beginning of its construction. The commissioning is this Friday. We'll have Senor Jose on stream and talk to us about how they've been able to come far with this and what we intend to achieve, just broadening this whole initiative beyond Greater Accra. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thanks for still staying with us here on the AM show. We did inform you that we will be giving you an update on Ghana's first infectious disease isolation treatment center being put up by the private sector fund. Well, fortunately, we've got Senor Jose who will help us with where we are today. Maybe help clarify a few things. I'm sure you've seen some things trending on social media in terms of who started this development, whose credit do we owe this? Senor, good morning to you. I can see you there. Thanks for joining us here on the AM show. Hello, Senor. Can you say that good morning again?
Good morning, Mama V.
Yes, good morning to you. You're good?
Good morning to viewers and people of Ghana.
Great. We've seen some pictures on social media. Where are we with the project? Is it done?
We have what we call technically a practical completion, and we are ready for commissioning, hopefully this Friday on the 24th in the afternoon. And we'll be sending a circular to reflect that.
Okay. Explain again. So as we see the building now, what is in there? What is it?
Okay, so what you have in the building today is a 105 bed infectious disease center. This comprises 21 beds for ICU, intensive care. So we have a whole intensive care unit, which we have dedicated to the Bank of Ghana for the support that they gave us. They were our largest donors. And we also have 79 beds for moderate and semi-severe cases. And you have 3 beds for triaging, and you have 2 beds for isolation. So that comprises the entire bed structure for the facility. It also has a level 2.5, and I think by the end of the month, we should be moving it up to a level 3 laboratory, which will be equivalent to what you have at Noguchi to help support the country with infectious disease management. It also has equipment in all the facilities. Every single bed has its necessary digital vital sign monitors, patient monitors in the ICU, and some highly intensive care units also having the ventilators. It's also equipped with some semi-morgue, so called a cadaver, for transit expired patients as well. We also have a staff block that's supposed to help manage and administer the activities within the main treatment facility. The staff block has offices, He has a lab monitoring facility as well. He has a staff lounge, which is quite modern with this kitchenette. And he has a waiting lounge, as you can see today, and this has been named after the current CDS, Mr. Obi Aqua, for the support he really gave the project as one of the partners to the project, the Ghana Armed Forces was. So we also have the built environment professionals also being a part of the project. The facility is also equipped with an 800 kVA generator supposed to provide standby power. Currently, it is providing the primary power because ACG is yet to supply the facility or connect the facility to the national grid. We anticipate and hope that they'll wake up to their responsibility and support the project before the commissioning on the 24th. But we are yet to actually see much in that regard. So we are largely good to go. The facility also is equipped with a medical gas facility, so a plant, so we're able to produce medical gases to support patients. And it also has oxygen manifolds that would enable patients access oxygen without physically carrying in what you call the cylinders, the gas cylinders. That alone can also feed into the infections that you may have in an infectious disease center. So we're keeping everything outside. The facility has 4 decontamination points to minimize medical contamination. So we don't have health workers getting contaminated. The routing is very well structured with walls totally insulated, both at the root level and the main wall level.
Okay.
So we've insulated the entire building to minimize the cost of energy or the cost of the energy requirement in managing or operating the facility. It is fully climate controlled with the air coming in properly treated, and also UV radiation used to also treat air going out to minimize or eliminate the risk of having infections leave the building.
Senor, for those of us who've been following this project
I'm a bit rocky. I actually got back from site not too long ago. We've been working throughout the night. So.
Okay, great. I was just going to say that for those of us who've been following the project from the beginning, we know that this is the COVID-19 Private Sector Fund initiative. Explain how this all started, how the thinking came about, and why we decided to even hit the ground in the first place.
The whole fund started by a conversation by 3 friends and having other friends also buy into the same idea and forming the fund. So a little conversation by myself, Mr. Ediefa, and Mr. Oting Jesse, together with Mr. Kweku Bediako, and then later a few others to buy into the same vision and concept. We just found it necessary to come up with a mechanism to deliver a swift response to the challenges that government was likely going to face. So it's a private sector-led fund. It's a fund open to both public sector and private sector operatives, individuals, the entire citizenry, and international donors as well. We conceptualized it, engaged government. They were okay with it, but also later announced their own fund and still give us a blessing to proceed with our own fund as well. And we launched it on the 29th of March in the premises of Fidelity Bank. And we quickly moved into action with all the trustees coming together, 11 of us, and governance structures involving Fidelity Bank, EcoBank, Stanley Ghana Limited, KPMG, and Ernst & Young. We built a very transparent system, a fund that people could really have confidence in. And the first of our initiative was the Feed a Car Your project. We're the first to actually hit the road and come up with some social intervention during the lockdown. We served 144,000 meals in Accra and Kumasi over a 2-week period. And government also stepped in. Our whole idea is to actually initiate things in support of what government is doing. We engage the Ghana Medical Association, the ministry, the health service, to really understand where the gaps are in this entire fight. Prior to starting this project, we just realized that, what had been touted at the time as COVID bed capacity at Ridge was, I think, just 4 or 8 beds. And that was obviously inadequate. we also realized in our engagements with government and the Minister of Health in particular, that one of the key gaps was the absence of an infectious disease center in the country. We tried with different options, looking at the field hospital. That's how come we ended up having conversations with the military and also realized the supply chain to deliver the tent hospitals, which are all makeshift facilities that are also semi-dangerous because they also facilitate cross-infections. All right. It's still going to take us about 3 months to deliver. So we said, look, we may as well just get and build Ghana's first ever infectious disease center. We got the full blessing of the minister right from the idea sharing, and he arranged a meeting with the president. The president met with us and gave us his full blessings. We engaged the military. In fact, before the military was even reached, government had actually made all its machinery available to us to get this project rolling. But you remember, it was a lockdown period. So movement was quite difficult. And that's one of the reasons we're relying on the military, the built environment professionals. And we also had contractors who had availed themselves or volunteered their services. And that in particular was Mendana and Sosa, the Portuguese, Ghanaian Portuguese construction company. We had a lot of people coming on. This project is a public-private sector project. It's a private sector-led project, but it is a private-public partnership. That is what's delivering this project. It's not something that's solely private. It's not something that's solely government. This is something that's solely Ghana. And that's what people should look at this project as. I have seen the commentary on social media, and I'm pretty disappointed that that's the kind of talk that we really want to have over a project like this. We should be celebrating Ghana in the success that's being chalked with this project. It's not time for political party competition. It's not time for anybody to want to have of one credit or the other. It's not time for credit sharing. It's time for celebrating the success of the people of Ghana. And that's where this conversation should end. So guys, wake up. Ghana is bigger than your petty thinking.
Is that discouraging the trustees from, because I know that there's a plan to extend this beyond the Greater Accra region and go to other regions. Is that still on course, or because of what's happening on social media, this is it?
No, not at all, not at all, not at all. I mean, the fund is not an NDC or NPP fund. It's a fund for the people of Ghana, and it has the support of the government of Ghana. The fund has the support of His Excellency, the President. It has the support of the people of Ghana. Right from inception, when we started with our FIDE KIU, we've had people from government, people from the ruling party, people from the opposition, all supporting our interventions. This is something for the people of Ghana. We are not serving we are serving the states, all right? And His Excellency, the President, has been very, very supportive of what we've been doing. The Honorable Minister has been extremely supportive of what we've been doing. You know, we launched our fund, and we had the Deputy Minister of Finance and the Deputy Minister of Health present. All right, we've had support from everybody. And this is not about us. We should wake up. This is not about us. It's not about Senor. It's not about Mr. Efa. It's not about TJC. It's about what we can all do to support our country, navigate these difficult times. That's what it is about. So social media commentary really does not pertain any of us, but it's important that people understand what this is about. This project needs the spirit and the support of the people of Ghana. It's not time for political bickering. NDC saying one thing about the project, NPP saying one thing about the project. For God's sake, guys, this is Ghana. It has the embodiment, the volunteering, it has dedication from the people of Ghana. People have risked their lives, not because of party politics, not because they are going against party politics, not because of anything else, but the people of Ghana.
Absolutely.
The president was the first person to show, in fact, the minister and His Excellency the President were the first people to show strong commitment to this project. The military rallied itself, showing strong commitment to the project. In fact, before meeting the President, the military had already made itself available. Before the military had made itself available, the built environment professionals, comprising the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Ghana Institution of Architecture, Ghana Institution of Surveyors, as well, had made themselves available. The Ghana Medical Association were at the heart of this project. They made themselves and volunteered. People just volunteered for the love of this country. So let's be in a position this project as one that celebrates the ingenuity, the commitment, the dedication of the Ghanaian that we always to see. And that is what this is about. It's not about any personality.
Okay.
It's about Ghana.
All right. Senor, we will talk again before the commission on Friday. So, you know, but it's good that you clarified the issue with what's going on social media in terms of who takes the credit for this project. We're not surprised. It's an election year, so. All right. So, Senor joining us via Zoom there on this. Senor, when can we take a tour before the commissioning?
Mamavi, you are a project ambassador, and let me take this opportunity to celebrate the entire multimedia group for the support that they have given us. I mean, together with the Finder and Peace FM as well. But the multimedia group has been the core of this entire project. Without your support, we won't be where we are. You have covered every single phase of this project right from inception. You have supported it with online coverage. You have supported with radio interviews, free adverts from time to time. You supported it with the challenge. And Mamavi, you supported it with your personality. All right. I know my brother there too also supported me by harassing me every now and then to make sure I show up on this video. So, I mean, you guys have been great. We need to celebrate you. 25 years in the business. You are the rock of this industry. God bless multimedia.
God bless you too, Senor. We will take time and celebrate you properly before Friday because you've been amazing. You know, leading this whole project. We have to recognize that and celebrate that. So more conversations ahead. Ahead of this commissioning of Friday. This is an exciting moment.
He's been modest.
Yeah, yeah, he's been modest. We're going to do it big time. Stay with us. Caddy's got show business before we wrap up.